I think I turn it down a bit, actually. Yeah. Okay. Hey, let's do the sit-down thing. We're just going to do the sit-down thing. We can't scoot up. That's stupid. So we'll just do this. What's up, everyone? Was that good? What if I just drop? What's up, everybody? My name is Corey. Today we're going to be ranking every game that I reviewed so far in a tier list. So without further ado, we're just going to jump right into it. I wanted to do this. This is all of the games that I've reviewed last year for 2021. We're going to do the same thing at the end of the year, so it's going to be exciting to see what games I do review this year. There are some good ones on the list. All right, so if we get right into it, we have all of the games in alphabetical order, and we're just going to jump right in. This is all of the games that I've reviewed last year in 2021. So I just recently reviewed All-in-One Sports VR. That will be on the end of the year video similar to this that I'll be doing for 2022. So that being said, let's just start. We're going to go in alphabetical order. It's in alphabetical order. It makes sense. So we'll just go with this. All right. So the first game we have here is Accounting Plus. Let me bring up a tab here. I already typed it in. So Accounting Plus is Rick and Morty, essentially humor. It's a hilarious game. It does have very crude humor in it, though. And yeah, it's... I'm just watching it now.
Come on, please! You gotta buy it! You gotta help me! They're gonna hurt me! They're gonna hurt me! Buy the game!
I haven't seen that trailer, actually. That is hilarious. That pretty much sums up the game. The humor is very... along the lines of Rick and Morty. I mean, it was created, or it had the co-creator of Rick and Morty in it. I don't know who that is, to be honest. I'll put their name up if that matters. But yeah, hilarious game. I really enjoyed it. You go through different scenarios and whatnot. If you want to see my review for any of these games, by the way, I will link all of them in the description down below. But yeah, I already talked about it in my review for all of these games. I'm not going to go too much in depth, but this game was fun. I really enjoyed it. I think as a game itself, it's not so much of a game as much as it is an experience. So you're not. I mean, it is a game in the sense that you're interacting with things, but there's no. And there is a story, but there isn't any like big open world. There's nothing, very big or deep about the game. There's no depth to it. So it's pretty much, you're pretty much just experiencing a story. And for that, I would probably rank it somewhere in the B or A. I mean, I gotta think now, how am I ranking these? Because it's interesting, because it's not a game necessarily in the same way that ARK-ADE is a game or Demeo is a game. So yeah, this one I would give a solid B. It's good. It's a very short experience. It's only a few bucks on Steam anyway, and if you get it on sale, which it goes on sale, it's even cheaper. If you want something funny just to experience for a first time VR experience, I think this is hilarious and it's really good. It is what I would consider old VR tech, because there's no collision with objects or anything. I mean, objects themselves will collide with things, but you could like put your hand through objects and there's no collision in that sense. And when you pick things up, you don't even have a hand. Sometimes I think it's a pointer finger, like a cursor, which is cool. But yeah, I think it fits right in the middle. I think a B for now. So next up we have ARK-ADE. ARK-ADE I really enjoyed. I think this game has so much potential. It was good, but it could have been better. And I would have to think a little bit more deeply into it to really try and pull it apart to give you an idea of what could have been done better. Hi, Zoe. This is a good time for a drink of water. Okay. I don't know why I looked at you like while I was drinking water. But yeah, ARK-ADE was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Sorry if you're getting little mic sounds. Zoe is rubbing her face against the boom arm. Yeah. Okay. So ARK-ADE, I would give it a solid A. I think it was fantastic. I did enjoy it. I think it could have been better in a lot of aspects. They just needed something else to it. A multiplayer co-op mode. I don't know. So it felt lacking a little bit. It was very simple, but the thing is, simple is good in VR most of the time because you don't need a crazy experience. You just need something good and solid and has the fundamentals down, and the fundamentals are really good and you know, solid. Sorry, she's going to be an appearance in the video pretty much the whole time. So yeah, ARK-ADE. So for instance, Beat Saber. Beat Saber is a fantastic game on its own. There's nothing else you really need with it. It has everything, right? So, I mean, it could have different game modes, whatever. But imagine like an endless mode, kind of like a battle royale thing. But like a mass group of people. It takes like 100 people. You know, you wait for a bit. 100 people get in there. Maybe 50, I don't know. And then it slowly just starts kicking people out. And the last one alive, you know, in the Beat Saber competition, so to speak, wins as the song gets progressively more and more challenging. I think that would be cool. But right now, Beat Saber is in a great position. I mean, everything can do better. But that's my example here is ARK-ADE is in that same category where it does things simply, or in a simple way, I should say. But nothing really stands out, and it's not a game like Beat Saber that would keep me coming back to it. So I think it needs something to keep me coming back to it, which would be like a co-op or something, some type of endless mode, I don't know. Next up we have Demeo. Demeo, I'm gonna give it a B. I don't think it was fantastic. I think it was good, but it's kind of along the same category as ARK-ADE, where it needs more. It needs more to it. It's not perfect, and I might bump ARK-ADE down for that same reason. We'll see how it pans out in the end as I start adding more games, and we kind of, you know, because I'm trying to figure out how they lay out on the tier list right now. So we may move things around, but Demeo, I don't think they did a good job at creating the class systems and balancing the game. I couldn't even go in the game and play a single class without feeling like I needed a friend. You can't go in there, even though there's a single player option for you to play with alone, solo, right? So in Demeo, I was not able to complete a solo campaign at all. I tried multiple attempts with multiple characters, and it's these types of things that are overlooked and is what is frustrating to me, and why I ranked it a B, is because I know they could do better. If they focused more on small areas of the game, which are needed, the game would get so much better. But instead, they have this roadmap of they're adding so many new things. And I looked in the patch notes recently, and they're fixing things here and there, but I don't think they're prioritizing their fixes right. They're trying to add more content, but they need to take a step back and fix the fundamentals and improve the game from a fundamental perspective and standpoint first. And this goes with a lot of aspects of the game. Even in multiplayer, the way they have the multiplayer game set up, it's like an endless, anyone could come in and leave as they wish. And I don't think that's good. I don't think it's a good game design. It basically forces you, they have a matchmaking mode, but it forces you to play with a solid group of friends because their matchmaking is so the matchmaking makes the games feel so, I don't know how to explain it. Like you're wasting your time. That's the best way I could put it. Because people can come in and leave as they'd like. And what would happen is someone would come in, aggro a bunch of mobs, die, and then leave. And then you're left with the rest of whoever's with you to clean up the mess that someone else created after they left the game, because it's so easy to just leave and then come back in. So that's why multiplayer didn't feel good. They need to fix a lot of fundamental issues about the game first, and then I would rank it better. But I think on its own now, as it stands, VR is very new. We're all learning. We're all, making games for the first time. A lot of these people are, it's their first time making a game. A lot of indie devs in VR right now, but most of them are indie devs. But so I'm trying to be lenient in that sense, but I still expect more from a game. So they need to either simplify it, or they need to match what they're striving for. So, in a game like Zenith, for instance, which I've yet to review, but I played it and I will play it a lot and review it later this year probably. That game reached for the stars. But if you reach for the stars and you fail miserably because you only get halfway there, that's going to show, and that's going to come across in your game. So if you only reach as high as, your potential is, your actual potential, then that is appropriate, and that's when you're going to have a good game, because sometimes you need to take it down a notch, simplify things, and really polish them, and that's a good game. Good games don't have to have everything. It doesn't need to be way up here. It just needs to be here, and that's high enough. So yeah, anyway, Demeo. I talked a lot about Demeo. I'm very passionate about VR, as you guys can tell, and I really love doing this, but maybe I pick another format. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know if you like my reviews, or what can you think of that I could do differently. Let me know down below. I'm curious. So next up we have Dirt Rally 2.0. Right away, this is going to S tier. If you have a racing wheel and pedals and, a cockpit setup, you could even race at your desk. It doesn't matter, because there's wheels that will attach to your desk and mount straight to your desk. No screws or anything necessary. It has like a little mounting screw, and it sits kind of like if you have a boom arm, the same setup. So yeah, Dirt Rally 2.0 is the first game that I played with a racing wheel and pedals in VR. And it's what actually made me purchase my wheel and pedals for VR, Dirt Rally. One of the best games I've ever experienced in VR. I think one of the better games in VR are games where you're immersed with physical joysticks or a racing wheel, something like that. So a game like Microsoft's Flight Simulator, which we'll get to later, those types of games feel so good in VR. Because you are touching something, and when you're in VR, it feels like you're touching the wheel in VR. It's really cool. Man, it's fun. It is so fun sliding around corners in VR. It is nuts. I remember my experience with Dirt Rally 2.0 when I went into it the first time. I played it on controller for a little bit on a flat screen at first, and then when I got my racing setup, my wheel and pedals, jumping in the first time and racing in VR, I was immediately better. It was pretty interesting to see how much more you improve when you have proper depth perception and you could actually turn and look through corners in the Apex. It was really neat. So yeah, S tier for sure. If you can afford that and you have a computer to run it, I would say you probably need 1080 Ti or like a 2080 to run it well, depending on your headset, right? Some headsets are lower refresh and lower resolution, but yeah, to run it well, it takes quite a machine. So be prepared for that. All right, next up we have 11 Table Tennis. I want to give it S tier, and I'm going to. because it's another one of those games that are just so good. It feels good, and the haptic feedback when you hit the ball, the physics are fantastic. It does have some networking issues where if you're connected to someone at a lower ping, or sorry, a higher ping, who's, you know, further away from you, you're going to have some ball desync where the ball doesn't look exactly where it actually is. And there's like, they created a system, I don't know how it works, that when someone hits the ball, it looks like they hit it, and then the ball is delayed and it shows up like half a second later, depending on your connection with that person. That's the only issue I have with it, but if they could fix that, it's perfect, and it's a lot of fun. And even with that issue, it's still very enjoyable. I enjoyed it a lot. So S tier for sure. I think it's a game that if you like table tennis, go get this game if you have VR, and it's on the Quest 2. So it's great. 11 table tennis, or I already said 11 table tennis. Elven Assassin. Oh boy. This is where things are getting challenging and complicated. I think Elven Assassin, I give it a A. It's a great game. I think I bring it down to a B. I bring it down to a B because it doesn't have good replayability, and there are some flaws in it. It's basically a tower defense game in VR, which is really cool. That tower defense games are the perfect VR game because you stand still and you just rotate your body. You know, it's easy, and you just shoot things with an arrow. Really cool. Dragons in it, ogres, cool things to shoot. Right? It's obviously a fantasy type of game. Elven Assassin. I don't know why I'm talking about these things. B tier. I think it's B tier. It's not great. It's good. It's not great. Could be better. There could be a lot more they could do with it. They added multiplayer. It's okay. But there were some issues there too. I haven't played it since my review. But if you have friends, it's good. Half-Life Alyx. Oh. D. Solid D. No, I'm kidding. We know it's an S tier. We know it's an S tier game. We could even push it to the front. Can we? Here. Boom. That's the first game I want to see when we think of S tier games. Half-Life Alyx. If you don't have Half-Life Alyx, and if you have PC VR, or if you're watching this video where it's on another platform, play it. Why didn't you play it already? Play it. I don't know what to say. Just play the game. I will say one thing. If you are going to play Half-Life Alyx, play it sooner than later. Games are eventually going to catch up to this level of quality, and maybe, you know, inevitably, I should say, surpass its quality. Play it now. It is the best experience you will have in VR. I can guarantee it. Unless you have like some technical issue or something where I don't know, whatever. You can't have enough frame rate to play it. It will be the best experience you've ever had in VR so far. That being said, it is scary in some areas of the game, so you have to push through it because it is wow. And so I know there's people out there who are like, I've played it and it wasn't that great. Tell me a game that's better designed. Tell me a game so far in VR that's better designed, has better audio, has a better story, has a better, I don't know, better mechanics. What game's better? Tell me. I'll wait. See? There are none. Yeah. That's what I thought. Anyway. Holopoint. Holopoint is another archery game, like Elven Assassin, right? But it's different, very different. You're basically in a room and a bunch of either objects or samurai assassins spawn around you, and you shoot them. It's a workout game, I would say. Room scale, it definitely benefits from having wireless, if you can get wireless on this, with however you want to do it. I think it's good. It could be better. I would put it at C class because it doesn't have anything very interesting in it. It's more of a tech demo, to be honest. It has leaderboards and stuff, and whatever. There's some small minor things that are there. Very simple game. You just turn around and shoot things. That's it. So next up we have Job Simulator, and I want to give this an A tier, but it's going to be a B tier. And if all of these games are B tier, then ARK-ADE comes down to B tier. Loco Dojo. Loco Dojo is a fantastic game if you have people to play with. That's the main issue. And that's the main issue with a lot of games. Unless they're very popular, like Demeo, 11 Table Tennis, there's other Walkabout, mini golf we'll get to. The multiplayer VR games are going to be lacking players right now, again, unless it's popular. So with Loco Dojo, that's the main thing that's holding this game back. If more people had it, I think it's a lot of fun. They have it on the Quest now, and it's a fun game, but I don't think they added enough to it. It has a lot of mini games. It's basically just a bunch of mini games that you play with your friends. It needs to add a little more, I think, more substance. I think this game has a ton of potential as well, but there needs to be something more interesting to it to keep me playing, because once you play the mini games, once it's fantastic, 2 times it's like, okay, I know this game, it's still good. But after you've played the mini games, 4 or 5 times, if you've played the game enough, they're just repetitive, and it's not very exciting anymore. The first time you do it, it's fun. Unless you have a new person to play with, then it could be, a different experience. But in that case, go play Walkabout mini golf if you want to keep having good experiences and meet new people there, because there's a ton of players there. Loco Dojo, I think, goes right in the C class area. Just because in that case, Job Simulator goes down to C class. See, this is where we're making serious decisions. These games are coming down. So Job Simulator, Accounting Plus are going down to a C. They're great, but they need a lot more. Job Simulator, it's, quick game, whatever. We already talked about it. That gets boring quick. Loco Dojo gets boring eventually. Accounting Plus has 0 replay value. It's very short. It's good. It's great. I wouldn't call it a VR game. It's an experience. And then Holopoint, lacking substance. Elven Assassin comes down as well. And B class games, ARK-ADE and Demeo. I think that's it. We made progress. Moss, S tier. Do I move 11 Table Tennis down? I'm moving 11 Table Tennis down simply because it's not as polished as I would put as an S tier game. It's not an S tier. It's one step down, but it's very close to being an S tier game. And if you don't know what Moss is, it's a VR platformer. Adorable game where you control a little mouse named Quill, and you experience a story with her. It's a beautiful way to tell a story, and I'm not going to spoil it or anything. Go and play this game if you haven't already. If you want something that's very relaxed, and don't get me wrong, it has intense fights, there's boss encounters and whatnot. But if you want a more physically relaxing experience in VR, play Moss. It's a sit-down experience. You could just hang out and enjoy the story. Highly recommended. Zoe is, my cat, is trying to, you're trying to eat my bag of mixed fruit. Okay. So anyway, it's an experience and a half. I loved Moss. I think everyone should play it if they enjoy that type of game. There's some people who are just like, no, I want to play first-person shooters and nothing else. Fine. But if you want to experience something different and amazing, try out Moss. It's really good. Flight Simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator. Again, one of those games like Dirt Rally, where you need a HOTAS, a hands-on throttle and stick, to get the full experience. If you're playing any of these games like Dirt Rally or flight games in VR, and you're using a controller or a mouse and keyboard, that's rough. You're not going to get anywhere near the same experience that you would have if you had a throttle and stick. So Microsoft Flight Simulator is good on its own. It had some issues early on during its initial stages of its launch. VR didn't come until a little bit later, from what I recall, after launch. But I think now it's at a good point. VR didn't launch very well. It's such a demanding game to run, and you need a beast of a computer to run this game. But now they added some VR changes, and I think more people are going to be able to play Microsoft Flight Simulator on their computer because they made some major performance improvements. Last time I played it, it was the difference between having stutters almost constantly. When looking around and stuff, you'll get like frame skips, and having to turn down the resolution settings and everything down really low, to now I could play at native resolution and probably increase some graphical settings, and the game will still run stable. So they made a big improvement with VR and their performance there. This is going to be an S-tier game. I mean, it's a simulator. It's you could fly from California to New York, or wherever in the world. You could fly from Europe to the US. You could go anywhere in the world. It's a 1-to-1 scale of our planet Earth, and you could fly around in it in VR, and it looks beautiful. S tier. Yeah, that one's pretty easy. S tier. But again, you do need a crazy computer to run it, so keep that in mind. So next up we have Ragnarock. Ragnarock is a music rhythm game, and you hit drums on a Viking ship to make the ship go faster. And you hit the drums to the beat of music notes that are coming towards you. It's a fun game. I just don't think it's well polished. I think it could have a much better design. And there's some things which don't feel right in VR. And those things are the drums that you're hitting, they're in a static position, and the hammers that you're using to hit the drums will go through the drums after you hit it. It looks very awkward. I don't remember if there's haptic feedback. If there is, it's not that good because I didn't notice it. Beat Saber is a much better game if you want a music rhythm game. Ragnarock on its own is good. It's a good game philosophy, I guess. I mean, they had something there. They had an idea, a vision. Unfortunately, I don't think it really worked well in VR. I think there's way better rhythm games. Pistol Whip had the right idea, shooting something at a distance is fine, but when you're hitting something, you either need to slice through it, like Beat Saber does, where you're hitting blocks, and that gives you the illusion that you're actually doing something in VR, and you're actually slicing through the blocks. Whereas Ragnarok, and if you have another game where you have to hit something, there needs to be a physical contact there. There needs to be way better haptic feedback, which the Index controllers don't even have the capability of, or Oculus controllers don't have the capability of doing. And the hammer that you're hitting the drums with needs to actually hit the drum, because it goes through the drum. So there's just these types of things that you need to think of that before you even create a game. Will it work in VR? And I don't think these games work in VR. It's never going to be S-tier VR game unless you have something physically that you're hitting in real life. If it comes with like a kit, I don't know. That would be kind of silly, but that's my idea behind it, and that's why I don't think these games really work. Whereas a game like Beat Saber or Pistol Whip does work because it's a different game design. You're doing a different thing, and that thing makes more sense. So, and it's more convincing, I should say. So Ragnarok, I would give, I'm going to put it as D tier. I don't think it was really great at all. I think it's fun if you want a good experience. Rowing a Viking ship, it's a great it's a fun game, but I don't think it matches any of these levels of overall polish and overall experience. I think there are better experiences you could get in VR, for sure. So next up we have Space Pirate Trainer. I think this game is probably going to lay with the B tier next to Demeo and ARK-ADE. And it's because it's a great game. B tier games are fantastic, but they're missing something. They're missing either a little bit of polish or a more robust experience overall to keep me coming back and playing. Space Pirate Trainer is a arcade shooter where you move up leaderboards and you go through different waves of enemies that progressively get more and more challenging. The game has the fundamentals down, but it's missing that little extra level of just added stuff you could do. Something to keep me more engaged, something to keep the game more fulfilling and alive, something to keep me coming back, essentially. It pretty much is just single player. It doesn't have any co-op experiences. It does have the, I think, DX something. I forget what it's called, simply because I can't play it, but they added another game mode where you can play 1 versus 1, a direct like deathmatch against your friend, but it requires a giant room scale setup, which most people don't have, so most people aren't going to play and experience that. So on its own, I have to take that out of the equation, because it's so limited with how many people could play it. On its own, it's not amazing. It's good, it's well polished for what it is, but it's not A tier. It's not something that's going to keep me coming back, and it's certainly not S tier, because these games are just immaculate. Perfect games. So next up we have Squadrons, Star Wars Squadrons. It's a flight game that makes great use of HOTAS. Obviously, any cockpit or seated game is going to be extra immersive when you have instruments in front of you, like a wheel or a HOTAS, like I mentioned. I would label it as A tier. It has a great story campaign. I mean, it's not perfect. There's definitely some polish there that needs to be made, which is why it's not S tier. But if this game had the proper polish, if the audio design was a little bit better, especially with the characters, mainly the characters' voiceover work and animations, and if the story was a little bit more robust there, A tier game. I think it needs a little bit, like maybe 1 or 2 more game modes to keep me interested to keep playing it. So yeah, I think it's missing a couple things. Multiplayer is really, really good in this game, but I think there could be some things done, like a battle royale mode in space. How cool would that be if there was a space battle royale? I think that would be kind of cool, where you fly around, and they could probably do it. It might be challenging to find out what works, but it's things like that that make a game really stand out and bump up to the next level. And they played it a little safe. It's lacking a little bit of content, and it's not super polished. It's good, it's really good, and it plays well, but I think it's lacking a bit. The story's not 100% there, and multiplayer is okay. It's good, but especially now I'm curious how many people are still playing it on a daily basis. Its player base probably dropped significantly, so I don't even know if you'd be able to find many multiplayer games in it at this point. But yeah, I'm not too sure. A tier anyway, it's great. It's a good game. Superhot. Superhot is a very simple game, but it feels so good in VR. It's so satisfying punching or shooting or throwing something at these red guys and just watching them explode in VR into a bunch of little tiny fragments. It's a really good VR game. I would probably bring it to... It's definitely not C tier. I think it's B tier. Simply because it's one of those games that, again, VR is very new. I understand that. And people are just trying things different. Superhot's a good game. It's even on flat screen too, right? It started on flat screen and it became, they made it into VR, and it works phenomenally, very well. But it doesn't keep me playing. It doesn't there's not enough there. There needs to be another layer to it. It either needs to have a fantastic story, which the story was good. It's not great. There's not too much to it. It's interesting, that's for sure. But I wouldn't say this is an A tier or S tier game. It's good, not great. Just like these games. They're good, not great. But that's not to say they're not bad. So next up we have Sweet Surrender. Sweet Surrender is a roguelike, and I enjoyed it a lot. I don't think it was fantastic. Overall, everything's just simple and not very exciting. The artwork, the audio, the enemies, the maps, they were all very simple. Nothing stood out. Nothing was amazing. Nothing blew me away. I'm gonna put it at C tier. I think it's good. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. The Secret of Retropolis. Oof. This is more of an experience than a game. It's kind of on the same lines of, where is it now? Accounting Plus, where you're just experiencing things. You're not really playing a game. I'm gonna put it in the D tier. I don't think it's nearly as exciting as Accounting Plus, and it's lacking. It's lacking a lot. I mean, the artwork is there. It has a very interesting story, but things could have been much more polished, and it could have been more engaging. It was okay. Saints and Sinners. Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, of course. Oh man, this is gonna be a tough one. There's a lot of people out there who are like hardcore Saints and Sinners fans that are like S tier, S tier. It's definitely, oops, we don't want it at C tier. It's definitely A or S tier. I think it's A tier. And I'm saying that it's A tier simply because Half-Life Alyx was so much better. If you want a zombie game or some zombie aspects to a game, it's not a zombie game. Half-Life Alyx is just, I don't know. They're way different games, to be fair. But in terms of like polish, and even Moss I think is more polished. Saints and Sinners is great. It's a great game. I'm not gonna say it's not great. I don't think it's S tier. There's some things, weighted objects feel weird to me. Sometimes they work. I think weight works with melee weapons. Feels good. Makes sense. But they added weight to objects like propane tanks. And when I had the propane tank here in my hand, in VR, the propane tank was down here. It was as if my hand was down here, actually. I was lifting my hand this high in VR, but in game, or sorry, I was lifting my hand this high in real life, but in the game in VR, my hand was actually down here. It just doesn't feel right. I don't like that. They could polish it up. They could fix things. And yeah, it's A tier. I think it's really good. It's a really good game. A tier. It needs co-op. It really needs co-op. That would be so much more fun. Imagine co-op survival. Like The Forest. By the way, we're getting to that. We'll be reviewing that later this year. Anyway, Unplugged air guitar. So this is a really cool game. Get it on the Quest 2 if you have a choice. It's available on the Valve Index as well. It tracks your fingers to play the guitar. Really cool concept. And it's one of the first like real games that made use of finger tracking, as far as I'm aware, for the Quest 2. At least mainstream games, I guess, that have kind of stood out to me. I'm sure there were many like kind of smaller things that did hand tracking, but this one, it makes sense. It's, if you've ever played Guitar Hero or Rock Band, it's that, but in VR. I think this is fantastic. I'm gonna bring it to B tier. I think it's good. I might even bump it down to C because B tier. The hand tracking is good. It's not fantastic. It's not perfected. What they've done with the game is still really good, and it's enjoyable. I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble now. This is the time where this one's tough. It's between B and C tier. I'm going to bring it down to C. It's going to be C tier for me, simply because I don't think it's on the same level as Demeo and, these games, ARK-ADE, Space Pirate Trainer, Superhot. By the way, this is all subjective. I hope you guys know this. My opinion doesn't matter. Everyone likes a different game. Anyway, that brings me to Until You Fall. Until You Fall is a roguelite. It's a roguelite, and I think it's fantastic. It's very well polished. It's a really good game. The concept is great. The artwork is beautiful. The animations, the sounds are great. I think it's an A tier game. I really do. I think this game is underrated. I think it could go to an S tier. It has so much potential to get to S tier. I don't know what it needs. It needs something. I would have to think about that for a while, but it has so much potential, this one. I just thoroughly enjoyed being in front of a character and then getting those signals, because you get signals to either, block with your sword or duck down or dodge to the side. And that type of game design I thought was really fantastic, and it works in VR very well. And it keeps you active. It keeps you more active than Beat Saber for sure, because you're swinging around your swords, which is like what you would do in Beat Saber with your sabers, but you're also ducking and dodging a lot. Beat Saber probably has maps that you're ducking and, moving around objects too. Not on the same level though. This one really keeps you going, and you're turning around 360 degrees. Beat Saber has 360 degrees too. You could argue they're the same. Anyway, my point is, Until You Fall is great. If you want to work out, fantastic. That'll give you a workout. But outside of that, as far as the game overall, it's very well polished. It's really good. There's collision. You have full arms in VR, which some people like, some people don't. If it's done well, it's fine. I don't mind it. It depends on the game. This game did it good, where you have in-game arms, full body and everything. This game did it well. So yeah, I enjoy it. I think it was good. A tier, for sure. More people need to invest in this game. I think they would like it. If you like roguelite games, you would like this. Ven VR. Oh, Ven VR was a lot of fun. Yeah, I remember playing this game. That was great. I had high hopes for it, because I thought it would be at the same level of polish as a game like Moss. It wasn't even close. No, it didn't feel the same. It felt okay. The main issue was the camera. They fixed the camera though, kind of. The camera's still not perfect, but it was a cool game. Top-down platformer, similar to Moss. Just not as good, not as well polished. Some things were a bit cheesy. The audio wasn't perfect, but it was okay. I think it's a B class or B tier game. Good enough, I would say. These games are good enough. Once you get to C tier, it's like you could probably pass on these if you find other games that you have more interest in. And then D tier games. Yeah. Walkabout Mini Golf is... Do I give it S tier? Oh boy. A or S tier? For sure. Ooh. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, is it at the same... Sorry, I'm hitting the mic. I'm thinking now, is it at the same level of Half-Life Alyx goodness and Moss goodness? I think I'm gonna give it A tier. Simply because I didn't like the last map that they came out with. I think they're doing great things, don't get me wrong. They're adding maps. That's important. Maps are content. Content is what keeps people coming back. You need content. But you also need polish. You need and it's not just polish. This game is very well polished. You need, map design. You need good map design. And the new map that they came out with, or course I should say, they're all courses, golf courses, right? The new one that came out, it's called Sweetopia. It was good. The easy course was good. Or normal course. The hard course that you unlock, not good. They called it hard, and it was challenging, and it was mostly frustrating because there were so many holes that had zero skill involved. And it was all just, oh, well, you got to get lucky and make it through the hole that's, you know, a millimeter wider than your golf ball while it's going downhill and around a corner, which you have no control over. So it's these kinds of designs where I can't agree with that being well thought out. If that was well thought out and they put a lot of effort into it, find a new level designer, find a new course designer. I'm sorry to say that, whoever, or, you know, maybe whatever, move them to another position if you don't want to get rid of them, obviously. I don't want to remove someone's job. Make them better. Make them better. Make them better. Put effort into it. The base courses that are there, I feel like those courses had effort put into them. They were good. The hard courses I'm talking about as well. Mostly the hard courses I'm talking about here. Those had effort. I don't think mini golf or Walkabout mini golf put as much effort into Sweetopia. So yeah, anyway, I don't think Walkabout mini golf is bad by all means, but I think it could be a lot better if they worked more on their course design and then maybe added different game modes. I want to see more game modes. I want to see something different. Maybe implement in-game tournaments that you could go into. I think they need something. That would be really cool. There's a big enough player base, and if you add more things like that, I think it could really get more people to play it more consistently. Right now, again, like their matchmaking system too, right now you could only play multiplayer 1 versus 1. So if they added more stuff like that, if you want to play with a group of people, you know, who you don't know, right, in matchmaking, you should have that option as well. So it's little things like that that I think can be improved on. A tier though, it's really good. Yupitergrad is a game where you're in space, in a space station, basically using Spider-Man hooks. You kind of feel like Spider-Man in space. It's a puzzle game. You kind of, well, like a platformer in a way as well. First-person platformer. Where you're kind of just going through objects and stuff and trying to swing around. It's good. It's not great. D tier. I think it needs a lot of work, a lot of polish, a lot more, just better everything. Zooma, Zooma was fun, and it's a very simple game. If you've played Zumba on PC back in the day, I don't know, early 2000s maybe, it's a lot of fun. It's a fun game. It being in VR is very nostalgic, and it's good. It's missing something too. It's okay, it's not great. I'm gonna put it as a probably a D tier. It's very simple. Very simple. It's basically like, I don't know, like a mobile game in VR in a way. Fun though, but it doesn't compete on these levels of games. I wouldn't say it's like it's a true VR experience, but I wouldn't say you're going to get as much as you would be getting with these other games in terms of just VR immersion and enjoyment and it making use of VR, so to speak. But it's good. I enjoyed Zooma. So I hope you guys enjoyed the tier list for 2021. If you want to see more of this, make sure to subscribe, and I'll be doing another 2022 tier list at the end of this year, going through all the games that I've reviewed this year. There's going to be a lot. I have a lot on the list already, so stay tuned for more. And if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, there's a link for that down below. If you want to see any of these games, I have a link to my review for them in the description down below. So if any of these games interested you, go ahead and click that link. And as always, think for yourself, which means question yourself, do what makes you happy, and I'll see you all next time.